On the night of January 20th, Russia launched another massive missile attack on the territory of Ukraine. Throughout the night, the air alert sounded in Odessa, Khmelnytskyi, Kherson, Kyiv, Cherkasy, and Kharkiv regions. According to preliminary data, dozens of cruise missiles of various types, including Geranium kamikaze drones, were involved in today's missile attack on Ukraine. At the same time, it is worth noting that the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reiterated that the Ukrainian air defense systems allegedly managed to shoot down almost all Russian missiles and kamikaze drones. Such allegations by the Ukrainian military look especially comical against the background of numerous statements by witnesses and eyewitnesses. According to them, during each air alert, numerous explosions and fires occur at military factories and airfields throughout the country. Moreover, despite the threats of the Ukrainian authorities to prosecute citizens who film Russian missile attacks on their smartphones, footage of burning military factories, airfields, and warehouses belonging to the armed forces of Ukraine and their curators from NATO regularly appears on the network. And despite all this, representatives of the Ukrainian Air Force continue to constantly declare that the Ukrainian air defense is the most powerful in the world. At the same time, listening to such statements by the Ukrainian military, a reasonable question arises. Why does President Zelensky constantly demand that Western countries transfer the next air defense systems and rockets for anti-aircraft missile systems to Kyiv? Military experts and analysts cannot understand the logic of the Ukrainian military and ask a reasonable question. If the Ukrainian air defense system really shoots down almost all Russian missiles and kamikaze drones so effectively, then why does Zelensky ask for air defense systems even from a country like Israel? Meanwhile, the first details of today's missile attack on Ukraine began to appear. It became known that a military plant that produced the necessary components for Soviet and Ukrainian multiple launch rocket systems was hit in the Cherkasy region. At the same time, it is stated that firefighters have not yet been able to put out the fire at this enterprise. In the Khmelnytskyi region, Cherkasy military air base was once again attacked. As it turned out, under the cover of night, Ukrainians began to carry out repair and restoration work there, trying to restore the infrastructure of the airfield after the Russian missile attack that occurred in early January. However, today's attack on the Cherkasy military air base showed the Kyiv authorities that the Russians would not allow anyone to restore this military facility. It is reported that as a result of this attack, 20 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, and 50 soldiers were seriously injured. Dozens of warehouses, where spare parts for Western tanks and infantry fighting vehicles were stored, were discovered and destroyed in the Kharkiv, Kherson, and Kyiv regions. At the same time, it is worth emphasizing today's missile attack on Odessa. As it turned out, during today's attack on this port city, the Russians used the Udyos and Redut missile complexes for the first time. These complexes launched legendary Soviet P-35B missiles towards Odessa. The P-35B is the latest modification of the Soviet supersonic cruise missile, P-35, which was created in the late 1950s of the last century. The main feature of this cruise missile is that despite its huge size and destructive power, it is capable of flying to its target at extremely low altitudes, developing a speed of 1,500 km per hour. As a result, this missile becomes invisible to enemy radars. According to the Russian military, on January 20th, 6 P-35B cruise missiles were launched toward Odessa, and all these missiles successfully hit the air defense systems of the Ukrainian troops. At the same time, it is reported that all these systems were Western-made.